I'm getting pissed, man. I'm getting pissed because life is getting kind of bleak. And I hate when I see people try and they can't succeed. And sometimes, at the end of the day, you are an adult, man, and it is always your responsibility to figure it out regardless of what circumstances that you're in. But there comes a point when it's like, all right, I've done everything that I can and things are not going right regardless. Is it that I am somehow maladapted to survive, or is it merely just that I am alive at a time in history when things are going to fail and it's going to fall apart? It's historically, it has always been the precedent that the father should pass on to his son a life better than the one that he had. And that is what my dad did for me. And that is my whole life, what I've strived for, so that like when I have kids, I can do the same thing for them. But it seems like the past several generations have taken wealth and squandered it and looked at those coming after them because they all of the circumstances aligned for things to go so easily and go so right, and they are so out of touch as to think that the exact same thing will happen if we follow the same footsteps. I am so glad I did not go to college, man. I own my own business. I install security systems. I do electrical work, basically. And I'm 30 years old. I would probably be just paying off college debt if I'd gotten the average, 60 a year job when I'd got out. It's such a trap if you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever. And even then, is it really even worth it at this point? The whole system from start to finish is designed to just stick you in an office for the rest of your life, being sedentary and unhealthy, working 40 hours a week, being taxed so that a third of the year you are paying the feds for them to not pave the roads and to put shit in the water so you get sick. What are we doing, dude? And this is the heritage that we've been handed. And it makes me sick, dude, that there are men who stood by and watched as things worsen, and they let the people around them that they could have had, they were there when these things were happening. You had the power to do something about it, and you let things slip and change for the worse because you were not man enough to stand up and say something. It makes me sick. And by the same token, I am not willing to just stand by and be angry about it and watch as things get worse. I don't know what to do, man. I don't really understand how politics works, but I feel like at this point I got to get involved and start making some things happen on a local level with other people, because this is insane. This life as this is unsustainable. And there are people actively plotting and planning and conniving and scheming to try and get just another penny out of you to make their life more comfortable because they hate you. And these people are evil. And these are the institutions that are raising our children and taxing us and just destroying our livelihood and the world that we could have. So a call to arms of sorts is to get involved, man. Being a nihilist and detached is not the answer to this. That is the very reason for which we get in this circumstance, is contentment and passivity. When you see things and you're like, all right, this is good enough, I can deal. This kind of sucks a little bit over here, but I'll just let it ride. That is the path by which we end up in places like this, is that inaction and that passivity and just letting things slide and just let it happen, just let it be. It is what it is. I don't want to cause any problems. That is how you end up in dire straits, man. That is how you end up in a world that you do not recognize from the one that you lived in, When I was a kid, right before the 2008 recession, my parents didn't have a lot of money growing up, but I remember generally as a child, people being happier, being more stable, having all of my friends living in better homes. Things were not as they are now. Whereas it's even my friends' parents are talking about how they're struggling, how stuff is kind of hard. Stuff is getting bleak, dude, and it is whack, and I am done with it. And I believe there has to be a way out of this. I refuse to accept that I must pass on a worse life to my children than the one I've been given, when I in turn have also received a worse one. That is not what's going to happen, dude. And by hell or by high water, I will prevail against this, and I will give of myself everything to ensure that that does not happen. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who feel the same. Conversely, I know there's a lot of people who've given up and who've written it off any chance of ever having it, man. Like, you got to find a way, brother. In the age of the internet, there are a lot of ways to succeed, and there are a lot of ways to make money, and there are things you can be creative and figure out how to do with your time. You know, I'm not a grind set guru, business salesman, but I started my own business a year and a half ago installing security systems because I did trade work when I got out of high school. I did locksmithing, and I was like, all right, that's better than personal training because people actually want to pay money for this, because when times are getting rough, no one has money for your personal trainer, but they do have money for you to put a better lock on their door, you know? So you got to figure out what it is that you can actually get into. And if you're a young guy, for the love of God, do not go to college, brother. Just pick up a hammer and get going, because the trades will be there for you from age 18. You can go age 22 when your friends get back from college. You've worked for 4 years straight. You have no debt. If you are super responsible and you live with your parents, chances are you may even be able to put a down payment on a house in a good area. All right? For the love of God, do not go to college. But we got to do something, man. The time for passivity and inaction is over, and just letting it ride, and it is what it is. Like, that is 100% how we ended up in this circumstance, man, is people older than us just being uninvolved with politics and their local community, and not addressing problems when they arose, just moving away and not dealing with it. That is how the landslide keeps coming and how things continue to get worse. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm going to start looking into it and finding out, because this is not the life that I'm handing off, man. I'm pissed. I'm over it. But we will prevail, because by strength and by passion, we can bring about what it is that we care for and what it is that we want. The life you were given is no longer the one that's available to you, but that does not mean that it cannot be reclaimed. Stay righteous, fellas. Let's go.